The mail came in, but first let's take a look at the progress in cleaning up the basement. Continuing to clean up the basement and gather up stuff, group it together, see what I can throw away. I was gathering up my old oscilloscopes and also old computers, including a couple of laptops. I have 10 old computers here ranging from the early 90s to the early to mid 2000s. Most of these were just given to me when other people were going to throw them away, and I have to find a way to look at them and see if there's anything salvageable. Maybe I can harvest parts out of a couple and consolidate down to one working one. I think the oldest motherboard here is a 486. I wish I had a 386 still, or even a 286. I never owned a 286, but I'll have to take a look at this stuff and see what I can keep. And on the bottom, anything else that's heavy and needs a place to store. I have some old toolboxes, various tool cases, saws, drills, heavy socket sets. I was using a bunch of these plastic shelving units where you have the plastic posts in the corners and they just stack up. I think there's 5 levels. I found they're okay for light duty storage, but anything heavy like this, the shelves start caving in the center. Since I have so much heavy stuff I need to put on shelves and those plastic shelves weren't cutting it, 9 months ago, I double-checked my Amazon purchase history. I bought this product called 2x4 Basics. I'll put a link to it. The kit I bought was about $38 at the time. It came with 6 of those black shelf links, which are some sort of industrial strength plastic resin. So those support 2 vertical 2x4 posts each, and that helps keep things aligned. And then you just put 4 2x4s across and build a shelf. The instructions say it can support 1,000 pounds per shelf, and it looks like I'm getting a good solid shelf so far without any buckling like the plastic, and I can make the shelf the entire width of a piece of 2x4, while these plastic shelves only go so far. So I'm happy with that shelving purchase, and once I get cleaned up and I can take a better look at what I have and what needs to go on heavy-duty shelving, maybe I'll buy some more of these. We'll see. There was also a trip to the dollar store. Pretty much adhesives, painting stuff, and clamps. For $1.25 we get 6 of these little 1-inch clamps, and of course they're not going to be very heavy duty, but they do the job. Sometimes you need something like this, but sometimes maybe you just have a couple of small items that you're trying to glue together or something. Small clamp does the job. And I could probably even reuse these twist ties that are holding these together to wrap up some of those cables I'm sorting out in the basement. And speaking of gluing things together, I got a couple of different kinds of super glue. $1.25 for each of these. One's 3 grams, one's 4 grams. This one's a thicker gel, and this one I guess is regular. And because I don't tend to use much at once, it's good to have them in their own separate tubes, because it may tend to just harden up and become unusable. For $2, I got one of these multi-purpose putty knives with comfort grip, and yeah, it seems comfortable. Pro painter. Mostly what I want this for is the scraper edge, so you're cleaning up some gunk on something. Maybe you pull off some laminated thing that was glued onto another surface and you need to clean it up or ruin your cutting mat. For a couple of dollars, why not? For $1.25, I couldn't pass up on these 4 durable polyester bristle paintbrushes. I may not use them for any actual painting jobs, but maybe applying stain to any wooden enclosures if I get around to putting a project in a wooden box. This is 1x controller. Well, what are we controlling? Oh, an LED RGB controller. So it has all of these functions. So it has this LED drain color controller. Otherwise, this looks like it plugs into a typical LED strip and it takes a DC plug, 5 to 24 volts. Well, I have some 5-volt lights, so we pull the tab to allow the battery to make contact, which implies it comes with a battery, does it? And it does come with a CR2025 battery. So here's a light strip with this kind of socket. Get that plugged in. Now I need 5 volts. Came up with a 5-volt supply. Turn on the supply. Ooh, and it's doing a demo. So although this is running a demo, I can't make this do anything. This is just what it was doing when it powered up. So I'm going to have to research that. Otherwise, lay it aside. At least it does something. So I have a way to test LED modules. I ordered this RGB Remote a while ago, so I can't even pull up my own auction. Let's just look at this one because it looks to be the same on the right. 21 key RF controller. That looks like it. I paid a total of $2.16, no shipping. It may have been an auction. So this looks like my remote. The writing on here is a little different. Mine says LED 2017 IR, which has been confusing for me. I cannot get this to work no matter what. I don't know why mine says IR. I know it's RF because, well, in frustration I cut the sleeve and looked inside. There is no IR, it is RF. The PCB inside says RF. So you plug in DC, I put 5 volts here because I have 5 volt LED strips. Then you plug in your standard LED strip to this connector here. And in my case, when I power this up, it starts doing a demo, but I cannot control it with the remote. The instructions say hold down this button for 5 seconds and it should pair. I've done everything. There's a little LED up here, and when I look at that while pressing a button, I see the red LED light up, so the battery somewhat works. I don't have a fresh one to try, maybe it's too weak. I tried looking up all kinds of instructions. Some say that when you want to do any pairing, you should do it just after powering on. So I've tried all of that. So does anyone else have this particular 21 button remote? Does it work? What do you have to do to pair it? I guess my next step would be to buy a new battery, but I really don't want to have to do that. If there's some other stupid thing that I could try that would work. So I can't really demo this, but you're supposed to be able to do a bunch of things. I'll just have to put this aside and move on. This says expansion board module ×2, and it looks like board headers. In fact, it's those 2-pin female headers for this op-amp PCB, because cutting these kind of female headers down into the right size out of a strip of 40 or something, it's not the easiest, neatest, cleanest thing to do. So for this project, I thought I should order the right one. This board has all these 2-pin footprints for these female headers, where I can put in resistors, capacitors, diodes, and stuff, and build up an op-amp circuit. So I'm glad those came. I paid $2.10 at an auction for these 100 2-pin headers, 0.1 inch pitch. When it comes to these 0.1 inch female headers, especially when I need to use a whole bunch of them like now, it's easiest just to buy the right size. Unlike the male headers where you can just easily rip them off at the size you want and you don't have to waste any, if you try and take a larger female header like this and cut it down to size, first you have to sacrifice a pin in order to do the cut because you just can't go directly between, there's no space. Plus it never comes out well, you have to file it down to make it neat. Sometimes I use an old pair of side cutters to do the rough cut. Otherwise you have to get a hacksaw or a Dremel, it's just too much work. So if you just need something quick and you've already got bigger headers, then sure, but if you've got a whole PCB full of these things, I'd rather wait and get the right one. Jack socket ×1, and oh, those are the PCB mount 1/4 inch phone jacks for that same circuit board. Looks like they come with plastic washers and threaded nuts for mounting on a panel, but these are stereo 1/4 inch phone jacks. Even though I only need mono, why not have it? So I made these footprints in advance of having these to double check the footprint is good. Let's hope it fits. And it fits. It looks like the size of the drill hole was good, and the spacing, and the position of the plastic body of the jack right up close to the edge of the PCB. So now I have an input and an output audio jack that I can bring to an op-amp circuit, send it off to a teensy, bring it back in, do some audio experiments. I paid $2.70 for 5 of these stereo jacks, 1/4 inch, 6.35 millimeter, 6 pin. Basically, they look like low-profile PCB mount through-hole audio jacks, and they're relatively low cost. There's not much info here. I pulled up a bunch of other listings for this part. I currently can't find one where they have a picture of the board footprint. Luckily, I've already made it, so now I just have to put these to use. This is a plastic sheet. Of course, there's always a plastic sheet, and it comes with instructions on leaving 5-star feedback. So what do we have here? Oh, some ICs. SN76489AN. I don't remember this offhand. Gonna have to look it up. I paid $2.24 for 5 of these digital complex sound generators, SN76489. So it's a 16-pin DIP, and there's never any info for chips. So I located this old scanned-in looking datasheet from TI. This chip has 3 programmable tone generators. You can do white noise. You can do simultaneous sounds. It's a TTL chip. Looks like a 5-volt part. So basically a sound generator, tone generator. I'm just going to play around with this at some point and add it to my little collection of noise-making stuff. So going to Wikipedia for some more high-level info. 3 square wave tone generators and 1 noise generator. It was used for music and sound effects in some game consoles, arcades, home computers, ColecoVision, IBM PC Junior. Oh, and it competes with the AY3-8910, which I also have and have to play around with. Sega used clones in their Master System, Game Gear, and Genesis consoles. Some arcade games that used this, and some home systems. So I look forward to seeing if I can get this thing up and running. Ultimately, if I have a bunch of noise-generating circuits, maybe I can get them all running in parallel, mix them together, trigger them with weird circuits. Gotta start somewhere, so adding it to my collection. This says LED Strip, which sounds promising, and it's a relatively bulky package, so I'll believe it. Oh, it's those! I ordered a couple of these from different sellers. Ooh, I cut the bottom of the bag out. Hoping I would at least receive one of my shipments. I believe these are WS2811, but I'll have to look it up. And we have a convenient power plug here, so let's hook it up. Now I gotta dig this stuff out. 5 volts on standby. Plug this new one in. Now when I give it power, hopefully it works. Ooh, it works. Let's turn off the lights and let the demo run. Of course, not everything is showing up properly on the camera, but without unraveling the string, just looking at it as a bundle, it seems all the LEDs are on and doing multicolor. I have some various plans in mind, especially if I can get the other strings that I've ordered. So I'm pretty happy with how these look, and I think it's all going to turn out well when I get a few future projects up and running. I paid $9.28 for 50 times 12 millimeter LED module WS2811 addressable LED strip, 5 volts. I've seen the prices on these fluctuate a lot. I ordered mine about a month ago, so you'll see the usual RGB addressable LED specs here for a 5 volt strip. But really, the reason I wanted these is because instead of just a flat tape strip, these are more like individual light bulbs going along a strand, kind of like Christmas lights. So you can just do different kinds of decoration and such with these compared to the regular tape strip. And they have the usual 3-pin 5 volt power ground and data in and out connectors, so they should be very straightforward to get up and running. Well, this is one colorful mailbag. Looks like I have received a bunch of stuff for upcoming audio and visual projects, some other miscellaneous experiments and tools, and I can resume work on this op-amp board and get into a whole bunch of things. As usual, thanks for checking out what's happening around the workbench. Special thanks to Patreon supporters. Any questions, comments, feedback, leave it in the comments below. See you on the next one.